Memento begins with a photograph fading away, not becoming clearer, fading. The image slips back into blank paper as if time itself is trying to unhappen what has already occurred. A dead man is on the floor. A gun is in Leonard Shelby's hand. But before we understand the murder, the revenge, or the man holding the gun, the film gives us a warning. Something is broken in the way Leonard lives inside time. He wakes up in rooms he does not remember entering. He meets people without knowing whether they are a sanctuary or a trap. He finds notes written in his own handwriting, yet even then, he is a stranger to his own thoughts. His life has been stripped down to fragments. Polaroids, tattoos, cold motel rooms, names without faces, warnings without context. At first, Leonard looks like a detective, a wounded husband chasing the ghost of the man who destroyed his life. But the deeper Memento goes, the more that image begins to crack. Because Leonard may be searching for the truth, but he's also desperate for a story. A story that gives his pain a target, his life a direction, and his suffering a purpose. So the real question is not only what Leonard remembers, it is what he has chosen to forget.
Memento is built to take something away from us, not all at once, just enough to make us unstable. The film moves through two timelines. The colour scenes go backward, while the black and white scenes move forward. But this structure is not just a trick to make the story harder to follow. It is how Christopher Nolan turns the audience into Leonard Shelby. We are not allowed to know more than he knows. We do not get the comfort of a full past. We enter each scene with missing pieces, trying to understand people who already have a history with Leonard before we ever meet them. Someone may have helped him. Someone may have used him. Someone may already be dead because of him. But we do not know yet. So we do what Leonard does. We search for anything that looks certain. A photograph, a note, a tattoo, a name. We treat these fragments like truth because the film gives us nothing else to hold on to. And that is the trap.
For a while, we are not watching Leonard's confusion from the outside. We are living inside it. We feel the same hunger for evidence, the same fear of being misled, the same need to believe that the next clue will finally make everything clear. But Memento slowly teaches us that clarity is not the same as truth. A clue can survive memory, but it cannot explain the moment that created it. That is why the two timelines matter. They do not simply hide the answer. They make us experience the danger of living without context. By the time the story begins to connect, we understand Leonard in a way a normal timeline could never give us. We have not just learned about his condition, we have been placed inside it.
Leonard Shelby no longer lives by memory. He lives by instructions. Every time he wakes up, the world has already moved ahead of him. Someone has spoken, something has happened, a choice may already have been made. Leonard cannot return to those missing minutes, so he looks for what remains. A photograph in his hand, a note in his pocket, a tattoo on his skin. These are the pieces he trusts when his mind can no longer hold the story together. At first, the system feels like survival. A broken man refuses to collapse. A husband turns grief into discipline. If he cannot remember the investigation, he can at least follow the trail it left behind. But the longer we watch Leonard, the more frightening that trail becomes. Because his notes do not bring back memory. They replace it. A tattoo does not remember doubt. It does not remember fear, hesitation, or the moment a decision was made. It only leaves behind the final command. Find him. Kill him. Do not believe his lies. And once those words are written on Leonard's body, they become stronger than whatever stands in front of him. A person can explain. A situation can change. A truth can arrive too late. But the tattoo stays. That is the danger of Leonard's system. It was built to protect him from lies, but it can also preserve them. If someone else corrupts the message, Leonard will follow it. And if Leonard himself corrupts it, the next version of him will follow it too. So his body begins to feel less like a record of truth and more like a trap he carries with him. The photographs keep him suspicious. The notes keep him moving. The tattoos keep the hunt alive. But none of them can give him back the one thing he needs most: the memory of why he believed them in the first place. Leonard thinks he is using the system to reach the truth. But every time he wakes up, the system reaches him first. There is one name Leonard keeps returning to: Sammy Jankis.
At first, Sammy sounds like a warning. A man with the same condition. A man who could not make new memories. A man destroyed because he had no system. And that is the difference Leonard wants to believe. Sammy failed. But the more Leonard repeats his name, the less Sammy feels like a stranger. Remember Sammy Jankis is supposed to keep Leonard grounded, but it also keeps his attention pointed away from himself. As long as Sammy is the broken man in the story, Leonard can remain the disciplined one, the one who understands the danger, the one still holding the pieces together. Then the story begins to turn. Sammy's wife keeps testing him, hoping some part of him can still remember through love, instinct, or habit. But the body is not memory. A hand can reach for the insulin. A needle can enter the skin. An action can be repeated. And still the mind may not understand what it has done.
That is what makes Sammy's story so disturbing. It is not only about forgetting, it is about doing something irreversible, then losing the ability to carry its full weight. And slowly, that horror starts to feel less like Sammy's story alone. Leonard also lives through repeated actions. He reads, he follows, he hunts, he obeys the signs left behind for him. His hands carry out a mission his memory can no longer fully explain. So maybe Sammy is not just a warning. Maybe he is a shield. A place where Leonard can put the guilt he cannot survive carrying in his own name. Leonard tells Sammy's story to prove that he is different. But the more he tells it, the more it sounds like a confession he has learned to disguise as someone else's tragedy.
When Leonard kills Jimmy, he thinks the story has reached its end. The man is dead. The mission should be over. But then Jimmy says one name: Sammy. And suddenly, something cracks. If Jimmy knows about Sammy, maybe he is not just another target. Maybe Leonard has been led to the wrong man. Maybe the system he trusts has carried him into a lie. Then Teddy arrives and pushes that doubt even further. He tells Leonard the revenge was already finished long ago. He tells him the real attacker was found. He tells him Leonard's wife may have survived the assault and that the story of Sammy may be hiding something Leonard cannot bear to face. For a moment, Leonard is standing in front of the thing he has been chasing. Not another clue. An ending. And that is what terrifies him. Because if Teddy is even partly right, then Leonard is not a husband still moving toward justice. He is a man who kept the hunt alive after the truth no longer needed him to. Teddy is not innocent. He has lied, manipulated Leonard, and used his condition. So Leonard has an easy way out. He can reject the man. And by rejecting the man, he can reject the truth that came with him. So Leonard makes his choice. He burns the photograph that could end the story. He writes, "Don't believe his lies" on Teddy's picture. He leaves behind the license plate that will lead his future self back to Teddy. Leonard knows he will forget. That is why the lie works. He can plant it now, then wake up later as if he only discovered it. This is the darkest turn in Memento. Leonard does not fail to find the truth. When the truth gets close enough to end the hunt, he chooses the hunt. After the truth begins to fall apart, something else becomes clear. Leonard is not only protecting the hunt, he is protecting the version of his wife that makes the hunt possible. Throughout Memento, his wife appears in fragments. A body beside him, a hand on his skin, a face in memory. Small pieces of intimacy that feel warm, but never complete. We do not really meet her as a full person. We meet her as Leonard needs to remember her. The woman who was taken from him. The reason he suffers. The wound that gives the story its shape. That is why Teddy's version of the past is so dangerous. If Leonard's wife survived the attack, if her death was more complicated than the revenge story, then she stops being only a symbol. She becomes real again. And if she becomes real, guilt can enter the room. Leonard cannot allow that. A complicated past would force him to ask questions the hunt helps him avoid. What if revenge did not save her? What if the story was already over? What if the person he keeps chasing is not the only one responsible?
So Leonard keeps his wife frozen in the simplest form possible. Not a woman with a full life, a full death, and a truth that might destroy him. But a wound. A wound with a direction. Find him. Punish him. Make it mean something. That is the thing Leonard can carry. Not grief. Grief asks a person to stop, remember, and slowly accept what has been lost. Leonard cannot hold that shape long enough, so he chooses the only version of loss his condition can survive: a target. In the end, Leonard does not just lose his wife once. He loses her again every time he turns her into a reason to keep killing. And maybe that is the quietest tragedy in Memento. The woman he claims to remember is also the woman his story keeps erasing.
For me, the darkest reading of Memento is also the most convincing one. Sammy Jankis was not just another man in Leonard's memory. He was the hiding place. The story of the insulin, the wife who kept testing him, the death that followed. Maybe that was never only Sammy's tragedy. Maybe it was Leonard's. And if that is true, then Leonard's greatest lie was not only about John G. It was about himself. He did not simply forget the truth. He buried it inside another man's story. Then he built a system that would let him keep remembering the lie. That is why Leonard keeps moving. Not because he is getting closer to peace, but because stopping would mean facing what the hunt has been protecting him from. A wife he may have lost twice. Once in life, and once inside the story he needed to survive. Leonard will keep searching for a new enemy, but the real enemy has been behind the wheel all along.
Do you think Leonard was only a victim of his condition, or did he choose the lie because the truth was too much to live with? Leave your thoughts below, and subscribe for more deep cinematic character studies.